Was Tennessee too conservative in the win against Oklahoma? Or do you believe, like me, that Josh Heupel has shown you another side to his coaching, which makes him an elite coach? In another way, vice versa, as they say, Nick Saban did this in the middle of his career. He turned from a running coach and a ball control coach to a coach that wasn't afraid to utilize Lane Kiffin and the passing game and did so at a high level. Still, though, I would argue those were elite defenses. In 2019, LSU won a championship with an incredible offense. However, that defense was still top 30 in the nation and likely had some garbage yards run up against it. The simple fact is, unless you want to be TCU and put together a team that can occasionally make a run and get hammered in the college football playoffs, you should love Josh Heupel right now. And if you don't, you're off base. Take it a step further. Did you like the 2022 baseball Vols more than the 2024 baseball Vols? Those young ones out there, do you know Tennessee's offense was conservative to the players' detriment in some cases in 1998 when they won a championship? So I ask you, Caleb Calhoun, do Tennessee fans and do you want a Morgan Wallen type show with a lot of touchdown passes, or do you want a championship? And to me, I don't even think it's close. I know we agree. We're not going to be disingenuous and argue the other point. One of us do that, but I will tell you that I will respect your opinion if you put it on the message board if you think Tennessee was too conservative. You can also comment if you're watching on Twitter, and we'll address those. But I want to respect those opinions out there because I saw some people that I really respect their football opinions on social media, Caleb. But you and I just see it a completely different way, or we see it the same way, but different from those people.
Yeah, I don't think it's an either or, like it's mutually exclusive. We're like, you have to be this defensive-minded, boring offense team to win titles. So I think you can light it up, and we've seen that year over year. Spurrier has a national title; he lit it up. Nick Saban did light it up a few times later in his career when he won national titles. We've seen you brought up Ed Orgeron. I can go back to that 2001 Miami team. I know they were just loaded everywhere, so I assume they lit it up offensively too. So plenty of history. There's plenty of history to prove that big offenses can win championships. But yes, you do have to be able to win slugfest every now and then. And Tennessee winning that slugfest did show another element to Heupel's game. And by the way, we saw this last year when Tennessee went against Texas A&M. Heupel did not have a quarterback who was a fit for his system, and he had to play extremely conservative. And he held on for a 20-13 win thanks to a brilliant punt by Jackson Ross, a brilliant special teams call that led to a punt return touchdown by D. Williams, and this just really good defensive coaching. I think it's not that they'd rather do that. I think Heupel, trust me, Josh Heupel to his core wants to score 40 points every single time he's out.
If he had three completely healthy tackles, that would give you depth instead of two and that were healthy and one which was struggling and another that was a sophomore, he would have taken a lot more deep shots. You need to be really aware that Tennessee was another snap away from another strip sack. They already had two. How many do you need to see, guys, out there in the ether? How many strip sacks do you need to see before you say to yourself, Tennessee had some real issues at offensive tackle? Caleb, I'll go so far as to say if they had run a 5-step, 7-step drop, which they rarely do, or just throw it from the shotgun with any sort of delay whatsoever over about 1.2 seconds, they were going to give up another sack. 1 in 3 times. And I'm not exaggerating. I think it's 1 in 3 times they would have given up at least a hit on Nico, if not a sack and possibly another strip sack.
I totally agree. And that changes the complexion of the game. Let's think about the first half for a minute, or the second half, that opening drive that's where people I think were maddest. It was 19-3, and it was like 3rd and 6 or 7, and Heupel called a draw that got stuffed. And everybody was saying, why not go for the first down? What are you doing? Here's what he's doing. If you take that snap and you try to get the first down and Nico gets strip sacked, and by the way, strip sacks can easily be run back for a touchdown when they're on that side of the field. You know that, Dave, because there's a lot of room for the ball to go.
Well, yeah, and they gave the ball up at the 5-yard line, and they were blessed in both instances where the defense got the ball right back.
Exactly. Oklahoma could have easily gotten a strip sack and run it back for a touchdown. All of a sudden, 19-3 is 19-9, 19-10, maybe even 19-11 if they get the 2-point conversion. Why risk that when you can just kick the field goal and go up 22-3 and it's a 3-score game? And you know that Oklahoma's offense can't score to save their lives. Guys, we're going to talk a little bit later. Like, I know the defense, and they take pride, and they weren't happy about Michael Hawkins leading Oklahoma to 2 scores in the final quarter. Some of that was working clock and scheme. Dave, if they wanted to, they could have shut Oklahoma out and kept them out of the end zone completely the whole game. If you go back and watch.
Yes, and I found another quote incredibly insightful too. Did you know they prepared for Michael Hawkins? I can't remember which player let that slip, but that means that Josh Heupel had himself a little spy over at Oklahoma.
That is true.
That means he knew it was close, that you could see Arnold Jackson hit the bench. They were ready for Michael Jenkins, and they were going to force him to beat him with his arm. I'm going to tell you.
Michael Hawkins.
Oh, David Hawkins, excuse me.
Michael Hawkins.
Michael Hawkins.
Michael Jenkins and David Hawkins. Well,
yeah, I don't know who that is. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what fan base that you need to emulate in these coming weeks to both keep your sanity and to realize that Tennessee can indeed win a national championship, but Nico may not win the Heisman because of it. I think they can do both. But right now, I want to also address those that think that Nico didn't play all that well. Somebody called me a liar, that I overhyped him. Them's fighting words. I'll address it. And the fan base you should emulate after a quick message from Banks and Jones. That's not the right one. Sorry. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? Banks and Jones, T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. I'll tell you, right, who Tennessee's fan base needs to emulate, and it might make you sick to your stomach, but it's Georgia. Georgia's fan base. What did they do in the Commonwealth when they went up to Kentucky and they sleptwalked through that game? Now, I think that could end up getting Georgia beat at some point, and I'm not saying that Tennessee's coaches want to win like that, but I don't hear Georgia fans going ballistic over the fact that they barely beat Kentucky and the fact that they have those games crop up on their schedule. Tennessee's not at the Georgia level yet because of lack of offensive line depth, but they're closer than you think. Caleb, they're going to win some games like Georgia because they're more talented.
Yeah, they are. And by the way, that's not even how they beat Oklahoma. They didn't sleepwalk through this game.
No.
They were hurt on the outside. Heupel acknowledged, by the way, that Oklahoma threw a new defensive look that they hadn't gotten prepared for. And so it was a combination of Oklahoma throwing a new defensive look. They were on the road in a night game. They have 2 hurt tackles. And they have a redshirt freshman quarterback who, for all of his ability, he missed a couple of decisions on the read option. He missed a couple of RPOs on Saturday. I think we can safely say that. I think there's one at the beginning where he should have handed it off and he pulled it and tried to throw a quick screen. Huge mistake. All of those things combined, when you know the other team can't score, you're going to play conservatively. It's not like it wasn't even like the Georgia-Kentucky game where Georgia really did just sleepwalk. And then at the end, they're like, all right, we know we got to go make a play. Carson Beck, go make us a play and win this game. They were never in that situation. I mean, they had complete control, 25-15. Guys, if Josh Heupel wanted to win this game 40-3, he could have.
Not with the tackle situation the way it was.
You don't think he could have dropped 40?
No, I think he would have
for 2 field goals.
Yeah, I think Nico would have gotten. I think he needed the points. I think Nico would have gotten sacked 1 in 3 plays with the tackles they had in there.
Okay, well then he could have won this game 33-3. How about that?
Sure. Okay, I'll take that. But he also could have lost it by 10 if they go with the passing attack that everybody loved in 2022, right?
Yes. Here's what this game was. You know what this game was, Dave?
Wait on
This
me.
was the reverse of what Georgia did to Tennessee in 2022. Which is to say that the score showed 27-13, but if you watched that game, you thought, man, Kirby Smart could have absolutely blown out Tennessee if he wanted to, but he just didn't want to give Tennessee a chance to get back in the game. And so he played clock. That's exactly what Josh Heupel did in this game. Josh Heupel was capable of blowing out Oklahoma, but he played clock because of the tackle situation. And I think more than this game, Dave, I think the big reason he did it, there was no reason to risk Nico getting hurt.
Amen. And I want to commend Nico for the way he played. He had one pass that he threw at a guy's feet on purpose because he was well covered. Those that aren't football aficionados are going to say that's an errant pass. No, that was a throwaway, so you don't get intentional grounding. He had a couple of others out of bounds. No, he's not trying to throw it to somebody. I mean, he's not trying to hit a receiver out of bounds. Those are throwaways. I thought for a redshirt freshman, he did a masterful job. Dwight Edward Townsend says Tennessee scoring 22 points in any game is pathetic. Well, what's pathetic is what was left to Josh Heupel. What's pathetic is the roster that Jeremy Pruitt left him, which has been all but remedied except for depth on the offensive line. And other than that, everything, in my opinion, is going according to plan. Anything else you want to close on, Caleb, concerning the way Tennessee won that game?
No, I mean, I think it's everything you said is right on. It was Josh Heupel. It went according to plan. Again, scoring 25 to win a game is not pathetic, particularly against Oklahoma. Guys, we're also forgetting Oklahoma, for all their flaws on offense, they have a top 10 defense talent-wise, and they have one of the best defensive coordinators in the country as their head coach. So,
Amen. We didn't say Brent Venables' name enough, but for those of you that don't know, he is one of the best defensive minds in college football. So I didn't hear that he threw a whole new defense out there, but it doesn't surprise me. He knew how big this game was.